We're going to call to order the Troy Local Development Corporation Board of Directors meeting. It is November 15th, 9:15 a.m. We're going to push our approval of the board minutes from September 20th until we have those members present. So we're going to move straight into item 2, the Executive Director's Report.
So I just wanted to, two things. I'm kind of I'm cheating here. I feel like the two people giving the update that I'm going to be asking but just an update on, we might hit it with geothermal, but just where we are with the lease and the process with the city. I know that there was discussions going back and forth with Rick, and we were we waiting for a Department of State approval, or did that already get signed off on?
Well, the Department of State approval has to do with the garage at River Street, and we need to have language in the lease that makes it clear that we're not interfering with
the surface use.
Use.
Okay.
So that we will resolve the Department of State issue when we have the lease language.
Okay. So is that what the Department of State basically just want to see the language?
Yeah.
And then they're okay with it? Okay.
Even an email, clear that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
The issue with the shift to One Monument Square and having to redesign and re-render it, at this point, for the lease that's associated with that, we don't even have anything to show.
Yeah.
So we're kind of behind the eight ball a little bit to try to get things queued up for next Thursday's finance meeting, and trying to advance everything to December 5th was the original plan.
Yes.
We're literally just talking about maybe, because we need to take a breath and make sure that we have all the renderings and details on the design for Monument Square, looking to December 18th and then January 5th.
Okay.
I know January 5th might be packed because that's usually your board appointments, organizational meeting, that kind of stuff, but...
It won't be this year, but just because the council... Yeah, so
okay.
You catch it where it won't be.
It won't be as busy this time? Right.
It won't be. We'll probably go, there's some beginning of the year transfers and stuff, just like the end of the year, but no, I would say that's actually not bad timing at all.
It gives us more of a breather to do it right, I think.
It doesn't put it off too much either. We're talking about weeks.
Yeah.
Compared to the original goal.
And grid always comes in and sometimes has a little bit of surprises, so it'll give us some time to ask, are you sure?
Yeah. And so the new renderings, is that something
CHA.
They're working on now?
We're pushing them, and there's some final seeker details in the EAF and some renderings that go with that ultimately the council is going to approve with all of this, the big ugly that we hit. We're waiting for some adjustments from Labella on that. So the fact that it's Friday and in a perfect world we would have had this all ready today for next Thursday, it's better, I think, to take a beat.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I know we were talking about seeker having, not really a debate, but are we...
We don't have to go out and read.
Right, we're still, because all they did was accept lead agency. Technically, this is during the review process, things can change. This is a change that occurred and doesn't change
huge material.
anything.
We're not changing the well field down to South Troy, right?
Yeah.
It's not a different project. It's just a kind of a technical amount. I don't think we're calling it material to have to send out new EAFs to everybody and then wait another 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. And then with just back to the lease due, once the renderings, that stuff's complete, is the lease something that you draw up for the city to then review?
Yeah, we're going to put together the wellfield lease, and then there's a lease to the staircase and One Monument Square that can be combined.
Okay.
And then there's a very rough draft sublease from LDC to Grid for the Monument Square pump station that it'll take on a life of its own with Grid, I'm sure, but we're going to put together a form that people are comfortable with.
Okay. And yeah, once we get to the point of where the lease is ready and it's just got to be reviewed from the city, we can touch base so we can try that, because I
want to give Rick and Dana time to digest it, not here. You know what I mean?
No, that's why I think I like the December 18th, just because it puts us, like you said, it's a little off target, but by a couple weeks. It's not the end of the world. And the whole location changed, so it's not still not too bad, considering the change. Although the change in location.
Technically, it's December 19th.
Is it 19th?
Is the finance committee meeting.
Oh, good. Okay. which I'm gonna give myself December 10th, at the latest, to have materials kind of ready for daylight.
Mhm.
It's gotta go into agenda cycles, which
Okay.
means between next week and the first week of December is really where we need to kind of get to work and roll up our sleeves with Rick and Dana and make sure that you guys are comfortable on your side of the
Yeah,
shop.
and I talked to Rick too, saying that, you know, I kind of figure, after this meeting, knowing that we're getting there, so I have a
Right.
feeling we'd kind of have to just do a little push out, but
Mm-hmm.
it's good that it's not that long.
12, so I'm gonna call it 12/12, agenda deadline.
I think just to comment on it, I just think the switch, you know, although it's kind of, not by choice, I guess, will ultimately end up being not a bad, I think it'll be cool that it'll end up being at 1 Minor Square. I think it has some other positives
We eliminate the chaos of the atrium.
Yeah.
We can't predict the future.
and the unknowns there. I mean, so, and I know we felt confident, okay, we own that parcel there, the city owns the parcel there, but it's like, I don't know, that's still, I mean,
It's dependent on common walls on either side.
and the base, you know, it's tough to kind of,
Ultimately, you can somewhat dictate the end product there, whatever that may be.
Mhm.
Either be taken out with leverage or become part of it in the future, you don't know.
Mhm. Exactly. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up, I'm glad that the cleanup went well. We saved the LDC some money, so glad for that. Another way that the city and the LDC can partner to get everything done there. So now the cleanup, what's kind of the next step?
National Grid's remedial construction enters phase 2, which is more of an in-situ stabilization along the Poston Hill, which is where they address hotspots, and they'll auger down, remove just the contamination, whereas phase 1 was dig and dump,
Okay.
where they were excavating everything and taking it out. This, they'll treat more of a spot situation, and then replace those areas with a slurry mix that prevents further migration of any kind of contaminants that exist from going towards the river, which is the ultimate goal.
Mhm.
That'll exist for about a year, presumably. The reason they needed everything wrapped up in October was commencement of the mobilization, and phase 2 was November 1st.
Mhm.
So they're on site and progressing. Hopefully it'll go quickly, and we get to phase 3 earlier than anticipated. But usually they're just on an annual construction cycle, so that 3-year presumption is probably going to be true
Okay.
to schedule.
Do you, you all, or some of you all have been involved with this for a long time, especially you. And, I mean, does it, I guess just from an outside looking in, it feels like it's like kicked up a notch over, right? I mean, I know it, so.
They're into
feels
it,
like
they're spending, after 15 years, looking around, waiting for them to really lean into it. It's good to see. I mean, it's a $30 or $40 million bit of economic activity down
Mhm.
there that you don't see, and it's not gonna create a building, but
Yeah,
it's, you know, it's been a long time coming.
well,
so.
it's gonna create a tremendous opportunity.
It's gonna open
Yeah.
up that space.
Oh,
for
yeah.
People
Whatever you wanna drop there, Seamus.
Yeah.
People have been saying, just looking at it as the way it is now, with the stone and everything cleared, much more an attractive redevelopment spot as opposed to what existed there prior.
Yeah, yeah. No, it really is.
How's the building doing down there, do we know, or they haven't griped about it, have they?
It's cold. It's got electric again.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. Well, all that does is operate. You have to verify
The
that
bay doors, right, or whatever?
that the video came back online, but just the bay doors and some lights, yeah.
Just so we don't lose sight of it, is it one of our agenda items to approve the payment,
It is.
to the city?
Mhm.
Okay.
Or it should be. Kingfield's remediation update. Yeah,
Is there anything of note that they brought
jumping
up
ahead,
about
but-
phase 1? Like, I mean, it's pretty,
No, they, as whenever you put a shovel in the ground down there, they brought up a lot of footings and concrete that
Mhm.
wasn't anticipated, but that's just the nature of the beast.
yeah.
That didn't,
Did they rebury that, or they haul it out?
no, they get rid of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Somebody's landfill's happy, I guess, but.
Because what
yeah.
they have to put in is standard, for phase one, so that you can't keep things in there that exist.
I forget if do they want to start recording the institutional controls on a rolling basis, or are they gonna wait to put the DECs and stuff?
Has to be a complete project. They can release,
Okay.
phases as they're completed, but really, it's not until the end.
Our
where
agreement to
everything-
record travels and, right, so if we were to subdivide and sell off a piece, we're still obligated to our buyer or our tenant to approve recording anything against the land for use and,
Yeah,
monitoring and all that
there'll be an environmental
junk.
easement, there'll be ultimately a site management plan that has to be conformed with. That doesn't get approved or reviewed or approved until the end of the.
is it gonna be like testing wells or pipes or anything there that goes in, or, okay,
No,
it's not like a landfill?
no, because that's continuous monitoring. In this instance, everything was done to get to the type of remedial
The
construction.
level
that
of
would be
the,
done.
yeah, level of clean.
Yeah, so all that was done years ago.
I just don't know if a buyer comes in or a user comes in and they're gonna put in foundations or any subsurface improvements, they probably need to vet that, or the
Yeah,
engineering needs
there's
to fit up with
an
DEC.
excavation plan that has to be followed, and even though it's remediated for historic manufactured gas plant contaminants. That doesn't mean that there aren't other contaminants that would have to be looked for.
Right.
So there's restricted use under DEC guidelines for that site now, but all that means is that if you want to do something else, you just have to make sure air quality issues are.
It's not gonna be a playground, it's gonna be some warehouses
Well,
and,
but even if you have warehouses with offices in them, the offices have to have proper air quality, so you have to have proper, membranes and whatnot. And
extra
and
seals
air
in the
circulation.
slabs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Just out of curiosity, this is the largest project in Troy of like this scale, I imagine, in its history.
for remediation, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there've been smaller scale, like Little Italy,
Mhm.
that was a gas holder, that had to be done. Up on Ingalls Avenue, there was some remediation there. The Smith Street, and the remediation on the federal lands along the river, that was probably a bigger project, because that was a lot of contamination.
Mhm.
Those messy mills back in the day when the dam
Yeah.
kept moving and, yeah.
But that was, again, that's all grid, because of the manufactured gas waste.
Hmm. Interesting.
That's all I had.
All right, so do we
Well,
have,
Steve, you kind of threw around the agenda there a
I
little
know,
bit. You
you
just
know,
took it and you shook it up there, so,
That's what I do.
no, it's fine. I guess, well, yeah, we'll just go right into old business, because we don't have any new business, and we gotta go through what you mentioned, the resolution on this. So, or not resolution, but the approval on this. So, with old business, does that conclude everything with geothermal for right now?
no,
Yeah, great. And then King Fuels, you mentioned there's a approval for
yeah,
funds.
we got a bill, that we gotta pay.
There was debris pile on the site that's active right now, that had to be relocated, because it was not the responsibility of National Grid to touch it. We moved it across the street.
But the city crews moved it and basically billed us for their time.
Mhm.
Yes.
We have that bill?
And part of it's it's right here. I don't know if it's in passed around. I don't know if it's here, but yeah, it is. It's the so it's a total of $4,450.07. It's a mixture of labor and the actual cost of the removal of the tires that had to be disposed of as well. This hopefully, I'd love to see in the future. I don't know how many. Not like the LDC has a bunch of cleanups in its future either, but I mean, any time that we can utilize the city, save some money. This was
Right.
probably over. There was another quote that I think that was more than double this. So
And probably get it done faster.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. you know, so that was good. So anytime we can utilize the city for that, makes sense.
So do we have a motion to approve the $4,450 invoice for the city of Troy?
I'll motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
And we just have Tom and Andy absent.
Part of the project that we got that admin fee in.
And that's everything for remediation update. And on to community business improvement grant.
Sounds like that's you.
I just printed out the latest, reimbursement tracking sheet that has the ones that are moving forward, the ones that are completed, and the ones that are not gonna happen.
Mhm.
I took them off of the total, so there's a pretty good amount of money left over, so we could probably,
So that number we talked about is
yeah,
the
I'll.
190, yeah.
The one,
190 that's
yeah,
left, no. The good thing about this too, just I know some folks are, a lot of people are reaching out thinking that their money has to be spent by the end of this year, but it actually just has to be obligated and contracted. So they'll still have plenty of time to
yeah,
spend this, and new folks can still receive, awards. And is there anybody on here, Danae, that, kinda like the last example, that, you know, didn't originally ask for the full 50, but, or no? Pretty much just maybe the ones that were in the hopper that we'd start dipping into next, you think?
I mean, the ones that came back for.
The possible round 7, yeah.
Oh. What about them?
Well, so I know, like the, Fifth Ave example, I'm blank, we're just
18.
talking about it, but, where she didn't apply for the full 50, or didn't utilize her full 50, but then later on had a need for it, so since there was some, you know, we approved giving her more money. Is there any other example of that, or we would probably now, for the 190, start looking at these round 7 applicants?
Yeah, we can start
Okay.
looking at them. There's been other people that have called interested in it, and we have a couple other little, you know, commercial corridor projects brewing.
Mhm.
So maybe some of the funds can be spent to go along with the Main Street grant.
Yeah, speaking of, aren't we supposed to hear back with that, like, real soon, or no?
Yeah, last time it was like the end of November, beginning of December.
Okay, cool.
There's plenty of other opportunities.
Mhm.
Just curious for your totals for everything. The 58 King Street and what's the other one? 9 First Street. So Slide and Dirty.
Yep.
And what was 58 King Street?
It's the old Bellback Audio, she's
Right.
ready to move forward.
So those two, are those what committed funds reflected in the remaining total, the 190?
I zeroed them out.
So they are, yeah.
Yeah, so I left them on the spreadsheet just for the meeting to show
Got it. Oh, good, slide,
if
okay.
they're still, they were on the list, but there's
And-
no money.
And then, the 9 First Street, no, 9 First Street, sorry, 908 River Street, I guess I could check right now, I'm not going to, but that property was for sale about like 6 months ago or so. That's the Mediterranean Grill. So, if, like, I guess my question is, like, what does that do?
Those are zeroed out also.
Yeah, that's just making sure, yeah.
Only, there was a couple things that came up with that one, that the work was done before they were approved for the grant,
Yeah,
and then there's not any backup to submit for us to reimburse them. So I didn't include that one. That's something that I have to have Seamus maybe reach out to them about, because they wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, they want me to tell them no.
They want you to say yes.
They want, yeah.
Oh, I know, yeah, you're right, yeah. They're hoping for a yes, and they're going to get a no.
So yeah, that one I also zeroed out on the list, because I don't think there's any way to backtrack and get all the information, and he was hoping to buy the building. That was, I think it is for sale, but.
Oh, so he leases now, maybe that's what you
Yeah.
said, that's.
it was on CVRE or LoopNet or something, so that's
Okay.
why I was like, if it's not a building owner, that was part of the stipulation for the
Yeah.
whole program.
Another,
We should have more than 190 left. No, maybe not, I don't know, I don't remember.
I let the spreadsheet do the math. I
Yeah,
don't trust my math.
cool, okay.
So there's no time limit on when these uncommitted funds have to be committed?
I honestly don't remember.
They have to be spent by, I wanna say, the end of the 2026, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So as long as they're, like, that's, I mean, we're actually, ARPA's another thing that's coming up from the city, just whatever's left over there to start getting some obligated, because we have to, you know, put it to some purpose and contract, so, you know,
We can hold it for you if you need to.
yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I think this program went really well, and I think that it would have, you know, if there is, it's a contender to put some more money into, frankly, because I think it's, you know, and, like we were just talking about, we can even try to promote it more with a bunch of different things, but, you know, it's a good thing, and even if it's something that you can't see, like the roofs, like we were saying, that they're just, you know, a business like Orion's Wake is just gonna use that in some other way to benefit, you know, their business, what they do, economic development, so,
Yeah, well, their roof secured all of the other improvements. They did like the back deck and all of it.
exactly, it helps when you're doing all that other stuff, so,
And,
Yeah.
and like with the Main Street ones, there's a couple of those property owners that the roof repairs doesn't get covered by the Main Street grant.
So
something
interesting.
like this, good.
I wasn't aware of that.
They're
But-
much smaller buildings, so they're not like a huge Ryan's Lake building.
Yeah, and I think we definitely, I feel like we kind of feel this already, but, you know, we don't make really decisions on this until we see what the Main Street grant, what we get back from that, 'cause I think that will kind of shift our goal, right? I mean, we could try to really maximize if we do end up getting that for that exact purpose, you know, that would be really good to you know, butting them both up against one another.
The only thing I'll say about that is that from what we heard from Clinton Brown, they said a couple of those roofs are in pretty bad shape,
Mhm.
and another winter is just gonna make,
Just gonna,
right? So, I mean, I don't know if we can act that quickly, but
yeah.
just something to keep in mind.
The old buildings in Troy are more resilient than that, takes a lot to.
Yeah, you can land a B-52 on most of those, and they're gonna be fine.
If
Every
you-
engineer looks at every building in Troy and says, this thing's coming down.
If you wanted, I know we have the company to do the promotion, but if you wanted something smaller scale put together, I could do that, but
Okay.
I didn't wanna do it if they were being paid to do it.
No, exactly.
I don't like double jobbing.
Yeah, no, we'd rather have you not double
And
job.
we had the 5% admin fee in there, so if they're, you know, let's get them on that. The, who was around for the facade improvement grant? Is that just you, Justin?
Me.
Yeah.
I was here also.
Blink today.
Yeah, it's the same thing, like.
Right, I mean, just curious, the funds for that just came from like a surplus, or was that wasn't a grant thing,
Well, that
right?
was the LDC's money, that
Yeah.
was probably for a King Fuel site, paying the HUD loan, but we used some of it.
I just gotta advocate for that, 'cause that was a really popular program in Troy, because it
I
gets the
agree.
homeowners, but it's like, you gotta have the money, I get it. But
Yeah.
in the business one, I would prioritize businesses over the homeowners, but it's like, that was,
That's why it was exciting to get this ARPA money, because it was kind of like that same program again, but
Yeah.
you do it for, on a little bit bigger scale for the businesses, so.
anytime you talk to someone about buying a house in Troy, if you, like, as an outsider, they'd be like, oh, you gotta check out the facade we're doing.
I know.
What?
It's not real anymore.
What are you talking about?
Can you target different people, especially longstanding, business owners? For example, Callahan Sporting Good and, Laporto's, two longstanding groups that their facades and their buildings are just,
I personally told a lot of people one-on-one about this program, and a lot of them didn't apply, so I hope, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's just encouraging everyone to apply.
You
And-
targeted neighborhoods, didn't you, like kind of zones for the
But this,
funding?
I feel like this kind of represents, because this is a bit all over the place. I mean, you have businesses up on the east side, some downtown, some,
Yeah, I think
South
it happens
Street.
on its own, but the
Yeah.
facade grant, we definitely targeted like certain pots of money and put in each area. This kind of just happened on its own, where it's spread out pretty evenly throughout the. But yeah, if they want to put in the money, then they could have applied, but.
Any action items for this right now, or just holding steady?
No, I think it was just an update, and, because a lot of them are finished with their projects, there's two more big ones that, are the Lenny's that Seamus mentioned, and, Frank Ryan and Sons on First Ave, way down. Those two are in the pipeline, and then the L House and a couple of straggler little ones.
Well, this concludes our old business for today. On to our financials, and we're gonna go over the 2025, budget draft. Take it away, Matt.
All right, our first report is the statement of financial position. As of October 31st, we had total assets of $3,960,496, with $474,503 of that in cash. We had total liabilities of $1,419,791, reflecting a fund balance of $2,540,405. There's no significant change in the statement of financial position as of October 31st. Our last report is the statement of activity. For the month of October, we had a surplus of $38,788. Our most significant source of revenue was in our administration fees, and our largest expenses were in our professional services.
Any questions on that before we go into budget, or do we have a motion to approve our statement of financial position?
I'll make a motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we just have Tom and Andy absent. Okay, on to our budget.
So, budget, mainly we're gonna have rental and financing income. That includes National Grid, gains from, or income from BSN and our county waste rent. Projecting a little bit of interest, and our interest earnings of $3,600. $1 million in the public authority subsidies is the NYSERDA money. You'll also see the offsetting $1 million down below in non-operating expenditures as well.
Matt, just, can I ask with the rental and the or those revenues that you said with National Grid, that's the finance income, will they continue to kind of trend down? Do we have, like, payments go down as time goes on, or how come that's?
Yeah, so I believe, and Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, each phase is a different sort of monthly.
Okay.
Yes, phase one, we got about 10,000 a month, phase two, 9, phase three, 8.
Okay.
At the end of each phase, though, we get a bump for paving and road construction, which looks towards the end of the project and the necessity to reestablish the roadway as is needed for county waste and any kind of future development of that site without being overly on one side or the other side. So they've been maintaining it better than we ever did. So I anticipate there being additional funds left over from the license agreement amounts that we've required from them. But yes, over time it does diminish a bit.
Okay.
We get 10 a year from county waste to babysit the road a little bit. We used to fill in potholes, but so that probably is profit now for, until we have a bridge problem or something.
The trouble is Water Street is city controlled, whereas that just is for private roadway that goes through King Fuels to to Main Street for county waste trucks.
Main to water, almost, that's where you'd use it on, right?
Yeah, Water Street, if there was an agreement with the city to utilize funds for that, because there's a lot of issues with water street.
The narrow thing going around that site, yeah.
It's narrow, it's areas of it up near Burton, still have cobbles in it, and if you try to pave over cobbles,
Maybe just frost brings them back.
there's a big water line up there too. Repaired a few years ago, but the depression continues to exist.
Then, other non-operating revenues, those are, that's the pilot from Ford County Way that they pay us, and then we, on their behalf, remit to, the jurisdictions, professional service contracts, or monthly accounting fees, audit, legal fees, management fees, other non-operating expenditures, depreciation, pilot payments, insurance. We'll have payments for the HUD loan, $467,000. That the HUD loan ends next year, in 2026, not 2025.
Oh.
And then the only thing that I wanted to bring to the board's attention was in the other non-operating expenditures. I put $215,000, which is the repayment to the CRC. I wasn't sure if we wanted to book that for the 2025 budget, push that out further until the HUD loan was done.
I mean, we did have the conversation at our last meeting for the budget for the CRC about just the dwindling funds in that. But one question I have is, does that, I guess there's no interest in that or anything, does that have to be a one-time payment? Or can we, like, split that over I mean, we don't have to do it until we need to either. I'm just curious, like, rather than carry it on the budget for that full amount, is it worth splitting it, or does it make a difference? Or are we just kind of moving it around for moving it around?
Yeah.
But I don't remember if that was ever official or anything.
And that amounts to how much is that amount again, I'm sorry?
$215,000.
215, that's it.
And we even decreased our budget for plan for, the community grants for next year in the CRC to reflect, like, just giving ourselves, what was it, like a 3-year runway? So it's not like it's not in dire need of this, but I don't want, like, is there any sense in putting, like, the full amount on, or coming up with a plan, or just make it next year's budget problem, make it next year's budget meeting problem?
Yeah.
We can keep pushing it for as long as we need, but in 3 years, the CRC is gonna need something back.
I mean, does it make, I know, Matt, for this, I don't know if you guys, was there discussions before of breaking it up? Does it make sense to try to break it up? Is there a penalty? I mean, there's no...
No, but we were thinking about breaking it up based on if we have payments for, King Fuels. So whatever money we got for that, we're gonna try to throw towards the loan.
Yeah.
Work out that way,
Yeah.
Yeah, we just haven't hit a deal yet. But once we start selling it off, pieces or the whole, that would be the most logical place to, it's like our mortgage, we just have to pay it off when we get there.
Yeah. Well, if it doesn't hurt anyone to keep it in the 2025 budget as the full amount, then I'm fine with that. I just wanted to bring up if it's worth pushing stuff further just for bookkeeping purposes. So
Well, no, I mean, I guess, to your point, if we push more, there's not really a negative, except for the further we push it, the closer we get to maybe getting to the plan where we are getting some money coming in to pay it. I don't know what anyone else's thought on that is.
Cash flow is cash flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do we, I mean, just to talk, when do we normally, are we entertaining passing a budget today? I mean, I have a kind of a comment on that. I don't know what the thought was, but I didn't know if we would get at least, maybe we can get more of the other 2 members here in December too and do it. I don't want to unnecessarily hold it up either, but.
November 1st was our deadline. We're into
Alright.
that a little bit, so if we go another few weeks or a month and want to tighten it up, it's not going to make much difference whether we file it tomorrow or 4 weeks.
Okay.
So
I don't know what the other board members or what the thoughts are on that.
ABO doesn't start yelling at you unless you're 6 months to a year late,
Yeah.
so we're okay.
Let's hope we can get everyone here next month.
Yeah.
Andy gave us like a couple month outlook of his schedule, and it didn't have anything into December, so I'm hoping.
Okay.
And plus, that's hockey season, so he's probably around here for his grandkids and all that stuff, so.
Well, 'cause I mean, I don't know what the thoughts are again with the 215, if it is something that we wanna push off, I don't know. Everyone's thoughts there, kinda sounds like it could make sense if we're not, again, there's no penalty in holding off, and if the goal was to try to get closer to when there was money coming in to kind of replace it,
We could budget a
Thoughts
portion
on
of it
that?
next year, but ultimately, it's looking at our cash position and seeing where fund balance is you don't wanna get yourself so tight. So having the cash balance here might help. But that's on the operating, but,
Yes.
we're showing $300,000 position change at the bottom of the budget. And if that's gonna bump into our fund balance year over year, we might wanna, that's where you wanna kinda keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm just saying, if for any planning, or if you're talking about doing more for community grants and stuff like that, it might help to not have this for next year,
Yeah.
just for when you refer back to it.
And there's retained income on the NYSERDA Cat C for GEO around 300,000, but that's to pay your expenses as well. There might be a net positive there, but, and the ARPA has a $50,000 retention on it as well. Once we process all the grants, the LDC can hold back 50,000 of the million, so.
Well, I've been factoring that into each reimbursement. I didn't realize it was supposed to be a bump at the end. I've been factoring the,
On a rolling basis, as you retain it, it's income.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
So if he moves the loan to 2026, let's say, and breaks it into what, like 4 payments, or would that sound good for the budget, or?
Yeah, if you want to come back with
Just so we know
something
what
for the
stuff
next
to
meeting,
work
that's
on for
fine.
next
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
and that'll link into the CRC's projected budgets, if it's gonna show that coming back in to redeem the note, so the two are linked.
I know it just keeps getting pushed because it's a big number, so either break it so something happens, or just be aware that it's essentially you have 3 years for the CRC,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
clock.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
that's all that really matters. Otherwise, it's just for whatever, planning and, proposals you have, just be cognizant of that effect it's gonna have on any budget discussions. And, yeah, we can, if we want a motion to push this until December, when we have Tom and Andy here. Otherwise, if they're not here, we'll go
We'll
forward
have
with,
to,
we'll
yeah.
do something.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to push this again until the December meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Well, second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. Okay, who wants a motion to adjourn?
I haven't made a motion yet, so.
Go for it.
Want it?
All in favor?